Hey everyone, tonight we're taking a journey to one of history's most famous and tragic days, the last 24 hours of Pompeii before Mount Vesuvius changed everything forever. I know it sounds intense for a bedtime story, but there's something profoundly moving about experiencing those final ordinary moments before extraordinary catastrophe, seeing daily life continue peacefully while history's most famous natural disaster waits just hours away. If you're enjoying these deep dives into history's most pivotal moments, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I'm always curious where you're all listening from around the world, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. It's fascinating how people fall asleep to these stories from every corner of the globe, maybe even from places that have their own sleeping volcanoes nearby. Alright, find that perfect comfortable position, take a nice slow breath, and let your body sink completely into whatever you're lying on. We're heading back to Pompeii on August 23, 79 AD, exactly 24 hours before Mount Vesuvius will bury this thriving city in ash and pumice, preserving it for nearly 2,000 years. Trust me, you'll never think about that famous disaster the same way again. Dawn of the final day. Congratulations, you've just woken up in Pompeii on what will be remembered as the last peaceful morning this city will ever see. It's early, perhaps an hour before dawn on August 23, 79 AD, and you're lying on a comfortable bed in your family's domus, a well-appointed Roman house in one of Pompeii's better neighborhoods. Your name is Lucius Caecilius Iucundus, and you're a prosperous banker and auctioneer, completely unaware that in exactly 24 hours, your entire world will be buried under 20 feet of volcanic ash. Right now, Pompeii is simply home, a thriving commercial city of about 15,000 people, famous for its wine, its convenient port, and its position along the vital trade routes connecting Rome with the rest of the Mediterranean. The room around you shows all the comforts that Roman civilization can provide. Frescoed walls depict peaceful garden scenes in vibrant reds and blues, the pigments still fresh and brilliant in the pre-dawn darkness. A small oil lamp burns steadily on a table beside your bed, its flame creating dancing shadows that seem to bring the painted figures to life. Your breathing is still slow from sleep. Take a moment now to breathe more deeply, feeling the cool morning air fill your lungs. In through your nose, slowly and completely, then out through your mouth with a gentle sigh. The air carries the familiar sense of your world, olive oil from the kitchen, the faint smell of yesterday's bread, and something else. Something slightly sulfurous that you've noticed more often lately but dismissed as nothing unusual. Mount Vesuvius looms just 8 miles away, visible through your bedroom window as a dark silhouette against the slowly lightening sky. To you and everyone else in Pompeii, it's simply part of the landscape. A mountain that provides rich soil for vineyards, a landmark for travelers, a benign presence that has watched over this region for as long as anyone can remember. You sit up slowly, feeling the familiar comfort of your well-stuffed mattress and fine linen sheets. Your house represents the prosperity that Pompeii's commercial success has brought you, not a palace by Roman standards, but comfortable and well-appointed, with indoor plumbing, central heating, and all the amenities that mark you as a successful member of the merchant class. Standing now, you move to the window and look out over your beloved city. Pompeii stretches before you in the pre-dawn gloom, its red-tiled roofs and white-plastered walls beginning to emerge from darkness as the eastern sky slowly brightens. Smoke rises from early cooking fires, and you can already hear the distant sounds of a city beginning its day, voices calling, cartwheels on stone streets, the lowing of animals being driven to market. Everything appears completely normal. The streets you've walked for 43 years lie peaceful in the growing light. The forum where you conduct your banking business stands ready for another day of commerce. The amphitheater where you'll attend gladiatorial games next week, or so you believe, sits empty and expectant. Nothing suggests that this ordinary morning will be the last one Pompeii will ever see. Your reflection in the polished bronze mirror shows a man in his middle years, successful and content with his life. Your hair is graying at the temples, your face showing the lines that come from years of negotiating business deals and managing a household. You're wearing a simple sleeping tunic, but you're Toga, the formal dress of Roman citizenship, hangs ready for the day's activities. This is your world, Lucius, prosperous, civilized, completely unprepared for the catastrophe that waits. Just beneath the seemingly peaceful mountain that dominates your horizon. In less than 24 hours, everything you see from this window will be buried, preserved, and lost for nearly 18 centuries. But right now, on this quiet morning that feels like any other, you're simply a Roman citizen preparing for what you expect to be an ordinary day in an extraordinary city. Let yourself settle into this reality now. Feeling your feet firmly planted on the mosaic floor, you're breathing steady and calm as you prepare to live through history's most famous final day. Morning rituals in paradise. The household begins to stir as the first light of what will be Pompeii's last day creeps through the windows. You can hear your slaves moving about their early morning duties, Gaius in the kitchen preparing the morning bread, Maria cleaning the atrium, young Quintus feeding the animals in the small courtyard garden. These sounds are the comfortable soundtrack of your daily life, as familiar and reassuring as your own heartbeat. For 43 years, you've awakened to similar sounds in this house that your father built. And you've expanded, adding rooms and amenities as your banking business grew more successful. You dress slowly in the cool morning air, first the tunic that serves as undergarment, then the toga that marks your status as a Roman citizen and successful businessman. The fabric is fine wool, dyed a subtle cream color that speaks of prosperity without ostentation. Pompeii's merchant class understands the value of appearing successful but not flashy. Too much display might attract unwelcome attention from tax collectors or bandits. Your breathing naturally synchronizes with these familiar morning movements. In and out, steady and controlled, as your body prepares for another day of the commercial activities that have made you one of Pompeii's more prosperous citizens. The rhythm of dressing becomes almost meditative, each fold of the toga arranged with practiced precision. From your bedroom window, you can see Mount Vesuvius more clearly now as dawn brightens the eastern sky. The mountain looks exactly as it always has, a gentle slope rising to a broad, flat summit, covered with vineyards and farms. The soil there is incredibly rich, producing some of the finest wine in the Roman Empire. Nothing about its appearance suggests the titanic forces building pressure in the magma chamber far below. Moving through your house toward the atrium for the morning meal, you admire once again the beautiful decorations that make your home a showcase of Roman domestic architecture. The walls are covered with frescoes depicting mythological scenes. Here Bacchus transforms water into wine, there Venus rises from the sea foam. These aren't just decorations but statements about your family's cultural sophistication and artistic appreciation. The atrium itself opens to the sky through a rectangular opening called the compluvium, allowing rainwater to collect in the central pool called the impluvium. This morning, the water reflects the gradually brightening sky, creating a peaceful focal point that helps center your thoughts for the day ahead. Your wife, Claudia, is already seated at the small table where the family takes its morning meal. She's a woman of 40 years, still beautiful, dressed in a stola of fine blue silk that complements her dark hair and intelligent eyes. Your marriage was arranged by your families 20 years ago, but it has grown into genuine affection and partnership in managing both household and business affairs. "Good morning, husband," she says, looking up from the wax tablet where she's making notes about the day's household management. Gaius says the bread is particularly good this morning. He found excellent wheat at yesterday's market. This ordinary domestic conversation would be unremarkable on any other day, but knowing what you know about what's coming, every mundane detail takes on poignant significance. The bread Gaius has baked, the market wheat, the household concerns, all of it will be frozen in volcanic ash by tomorrow morning. Your children join you for the morning meal, Marcus, your 18-year-old son who's learning the banking business, and Julia, your 15-year-old daughter whose marriage you're currently negotiating with a prosperous family from Naples. They chatter about their plans for the day, completely unaware that they're living through their final morning in the only home they've ever known. The breakfast itself is simple but high quality: fresh bread with olive oil and honey, cheese from your own goats, fruits from the garden, and wine mixed with water in the civilized Roman fashion. Everything tastes exactly as it should, showing no hint of the catastrophe building beneath the peaceful mountain, visible through the atrium's opening to the sky. As you eat, you review your plans for the day. There are several banking transactions to complete, a property auction to oversee, and accounts to balance. This evening, you plan to attend a dinner party at your friend Gaius Plinius's house, the same Pliny the Younger who will survive to write the only eyewitness account of Vesuvius's eruption. Your breathing settles into its natural rhythm for the day ahead, deep and controlled as you mentally prepare for the business activities that await. The morning air carries the sounds of Pompeii fully. Awakening, vendors calling their wares, children playing in the streets, the general bustle of a prosperous city beginning another day of commercial and social activity. Everything feels completely normal, perfectly ordinary, utterly peaceful. The mountain that will destroy this city in less than 24 hours continues to look benign and familiar, its slopes dotted with farms and vineyards where people are probably already beginning their own morning routines, equally unaware of what awaits. Standing to begin your day, you feel the pleasant anticipation that comes with knowing you have meaningful work to do and a comfortable life to return to at day's end. Your feet are planted firmly on the beautiful mosaic floor of your atrium, your breathing is steady and calm, and your mind is focused on the immediate tasks and small pleasures that make up a successful Roman businessman's daily existence. This is the last morning Pompeii will ever see, and it begins like any other, with ordinary people living ordinary lives, making ordinary plans, completely unaware that they're about to become part of history's most famous natural disaster. The Forum's final day. After breakfast, you make your way through Pompeii's familiar streets toward the Forum, the commercial and political heart of the city where you conduct most of your banking business. The morning air is warm, but pleasant, carrying the sense of bread baking, flowers blooming in courtyard gardens, and the faint smell of the sea that lies just a few miles to the west. Your route takes you down the Via dell'Abbondanza, one of Pompeii's main thoroughfares, already busy with the morning's commercial traffic. Slaves carry amphora of wine and oil, merchants push carts loaded with goods from across the Mediterranean, and citizens like yourself move purposefully toward their daily business. The stone street, worn smooth by decades of foot traffic and cartwheels, feels solid and permanent beneath your sandals. The city around you represents the height of Roman provincial civilization. Pompeii has grown prosperous as a trading port and manufacturing center, its citizens enjoying amenities that would be luxuries in less successful cities. Every house seems to have running water, many have central heating, and the public buildings showcase architectural techniques that won't be surpassed for centuries after this city disappears. Your breathing naturally matches your walking pace as you move through streets you've known since childhood. In and out, steady and controlled, your body automatically navigating the familiar route while your mind begins focusing on the day's business activities. These streets feel like extensions of your own home, as comfortable and predictable as any domestic space. As you walk, you exchange greetings with neighbors and business associates. Here's Marcus Halconius, another banker whose family has been rivals and occasional partners for 2 generations. There's Gaius Gavius, the wine merchant whose vineyards on Vesuvius's slopes produce some of the region's finest vintages. Everyone seems in good spirits, looking forward to what promises to be another profitable day. In Pompeii's thriving economy, the Forum opens before you as you turn the final corner, a magnificent rectangular space surrounded by colonnades and dominated by temples, basilicas, and public buildings that showcase Roman engineering at its finest. The Temple of Jupiter rises on the north end, its columns brilliant white in the morning sun. The basilica where legal matters are conducted occupies the south side, already busy with lawyers and their clients. Your banking stall is located along the Forum's eastern colonnade, one of several similar businesses that handle the financial transactions essential to Pompeii's commercial success. The location is prime real estate, visible to everyone entering the Forum, convenient to both the legal proceedings in the basilica and the religious activities at the temples. Gaius Servius, your chief clerk, has already opened the stall and arranged your wax tablets, styluses, and the strongbox containing coins and promissory notes that represent your client's wealth. He's a freed Slave whose mathematical skills and absolute honesty have made him invaluable to your business. Operations. Good morning, Dominus, he says respectfully. The Juventus brothers are here about the loan for their shipping venture, and Cecilia Medella wants to discuss terms for financing her son's gladiator troupe. These are routine transactions, the kind of business that has built your family's prosperity over decades of careful lending and investment. The Juventus brothers are reliable clients whose shipping business has grown steadily profitable. Cecilia Medella represents new money seeking to enter the entertainment business. Gladiatorial games are expensive but can be enormously profitable if managed correctly. As you settle into your work, the forum fills with the morning's activity. Slaves and citizens move between the various shops and services, conducting the 1,000 small transactions that keep a complex urban economy functioning. The sound of voices bargaining, footsteps on stone, and coins clinking creates the familiar soundtrack of Pompeian commercial life. Your first client represents a typical morning transaction. Gaius Furius wants to borrow money to expand his bakery, using his current shop as collateral. You examine his accounts carefully, noting the steady income from bread sales and the growing demand for his particular specialty, sweet cakes that have become popular at dinner parties throughout the city. The negotiation proceeds according to established patterns, interest rates based on risk assessment, repayment schedules aligned with expected income, collateral arrangements that protect your investment while allowing him room to grow his business. These financial relationships form the web of credit and investment that makes Pompeii's complex economy possible. As you work, you're vaguely aware of Mount Vesuvius dominating the northern horizon, visible above the forum's surrounding buildings. The mountain looks exactly as it always has, a familiar presence that provides the rich volcanic soil responsible for the region's agricultural prosperity. Nothing in its appearance suggests that deep beneath its peaceful slopes, magma is rising through fissures in the earth, building pressure for an explosion that will devastate everything within 20 miles. Your breathing maintains its steady rhythm as you move from one transaction to another, the familiar patterns of business providing a meditative quality to the morning's work. Each negotiation requires focus and attention to detail, but the overall process has become almost automatic after 20 years of banking experience. The morning progresses with typical efficiency. Loans are negotiated and documents prepared, deposits are recorded and investments planned. The complex financial relationships that bind Pompeii's commercial community are maintained and extended. Your strongbox fills with coins and empties again, as money flows through the channels that keep the city's economy functioning. By midday, you've completed most of your scheduled transactions and can afford to relax slightly, observing the forum's bustling activity with the satisfaction of a man whose business contributes to his community's prosperity. Citizens and slaves move purposefully between shops and services, conducting the routine business of daily life in one of the Roman Empire's most successful provincial cities. Everything appears completely normal, perfectly ordinary, utterly peaceful. The forum buzzes with commercial activity, the temples receive their steady stream of worshippers, and the legal proceedings in the basilica continue according to established procedures. Nothing suggests that in less than 18 hours, this entire scene will be buried under tons of volcanic debris, preserved for nearly 2 millennia as a snapshot of Roman urban life. Your successful morning of banking has left you feeling satisfied and optimistic about the day ahead. The afternoon will bring additional business opportunities, the evening promises social pleasures at your friend's dinner party, and tomorrow. Well, tomorrow you expect will bring more of the same prosperous routine that has defined your comfortable life in this thriving city. Standing in your forum stall, surrounded by the sights and sounds of Pompeii's commercial success, you breathe deeply and appreciate once again how fortunate you are to live in such times and in such a place. Your feet are planted firmly on stone that has been worn smooth by generations of Pompeian citizens. Your breathing is calm and controlled, and your mind is focused on the immediate pleasures and responsibilities that make life in the Roman Empire so rewarding. This is Pompeii at its height, prosperous, civilized, confident in its future, completely unaware that it has Less than a day remaining before becoming history's most famous lost city. Afternoon pleasures. As the midday sun reaches its peak, you close your banking stall and prepare to enjoy the kind of leisurely afternoon that represents one of the great pleasures of Roman civilization. With your morning's business successfully completed and your finances in excellent order, you can afford to indulge in the cultural and social activities that make life in Pompeii so rewarding. Your first destination is the public baths, where successful citizens gather not just for hygiene but for socializing, business networking, and the physical pleasures that Roman engineering has made possible. The Forum baths are only a short walk from your banking stall, their impressive facade promising the luxury and comfort that await within. The bath complex represents Roman civilization at its finest, a sophisticated system of heated pools, steam rooms, and exercise areas that transform simple bathing into an elaborate social ritual. As you pay your modest entrance fee and receive a bronze token from the slave attendant, you're participating in customs that unite Roman citizens from Britain to Egypt. The changing room, or apoditerium, is already busy with men of your social class preparing for their afternoon relaxation. You recognize most of them, fellow merchants, city officials, retired military officers, who have settled in Pompeii to enjoy their pensions. The conversations flow around topics familiar to prosperous Roman citizens: politics in Rome, trade opportunities, family marriages, the quality of this year's wine harvest. Your breathing deepens naturally as you remove your toga and tunic, folding them carefully for the slave attendant to guard. The warm, humid air of the baths feels wonderfully relaxing after the morning's business activities. Steam carries the scents of olive oil, perfumed unguents, and the particular clean smell of heated marble and bronze that characterizes Roman bathhouses. The first pool is the tepidarium, moderately warm water that begins the process of relaxation and cleansing. You ease into the pool with a sigh of pleasure, feeling the day's accumulated tension dissolve in the perfectly heated water. Around you, other bathers engage in quiet conversation or simply float in contemplative silence, enjoying one of the great luxuries that Roman engineering has made possible. From the tepidarium, you progress to the caldarium, the hot pool where the real business of bathing takes place. The water here is almost uncomfortably warm, heated by furnaces that also warm the floors and walls through an ingenious system of hollow spaces called hypocausts. The heat penetrates deeply into your muscles, providing a form of therapy that won't be equaled until modern times. A slave named Demetrius, skilled in the arts of massage and body care, approaches with oils and a strigil, the curved bronze scraper used to remove dirt and dead skin. His hands are expert, working the scented oil into your skin before using the strigil to remove the mixture of oil, sweat, and accumulated grime that represents the body's natural renewal process. As Demetrius works, you engage in conversation with Gaius Plinius Caecilius Secundus, Pliny the Younger, who occupies the adjacent massage table. He's visiting Pompeii on legal business, representing clients in property disputes that require his expertise in Roman law. Your conversation ranges across topics of mutual interest: the political situation in Rome, investment opportunities in shipping, the upcoming gladiatorial games. Neither of you has any idea that Pliny will survive the next 24 hours to become the only literate eyewitness to Vesuvius's eruption, or that his letters describing the disaster will be the primary source of information about Pompeii's destruction for nearly 2,000 years. Right now, he's simply another educated Roman enjoying the pleasures of provincial life. After the hot pool comes the frigidarium, where cold water provides a shocking contrast that closes the pores and invigorates the body. The plunge into cold water after the extreme heat of the caldarium creates a physical sensation that's both shocking and refreshing, leaving you feeling cleaner and more alert than any simple washing could achieve. Your breathing adjusts naturally to each temperature change, deepening in the hot pools and becoming more controlled in the cold water. The rhythm of breathing helps your body adapt to the thermal therapy that Romans consider essential for health and well-being. Each inhalation brings the humid, scented air of the baths, each exhalation releases tension and fatigue. Clean and refreshed, you move to the palestra, the exercise area where Romans maintain the physical fitness that their culture values so highly. Here, men of all ages engage in wrestling, running, and various ball games that keep bodies strong and minds sharp. You choose a moderate workout, appropriate for a man of your age and social position, some light exercises with weights, followed by a game of Trigon with two other merchants. The exercise feels good after the relaxing effects of the baths, reminding your body of its strength and capability while providing the kind of moderate physical activity that Roman physicians recommend for maintaining health into old age. Your movements are controlled and purposeful, your breathing steady and deep as you work muscles that spend most of their time sedentary. As the afternoon progresses, you dress in fresh clothing and prepare to leave the baths feeling thoroughly refreshed and socially satisfied. The complex social interactions of the bathhouse have reinforced your position in Pompeii's commercial community while providing the physical pleasures that make Roman civilization so appealing to those fortunate enough to enjoy its benefits. Stepping back onto the stone streets of Pompeii, you feel the satisfaction that comes from a perfect afternoon in a perfectly civilized city. The sun is beginning its descent toward the western horizon, painting the white walls of buildings with golden light that makes everything appear even more beautiful and prosperous than usual. Mount Vesuvius continues to dominate the northern skyline, its slopes now clearly visible in the afternoon light. Vineyards and farms dot its flanks, their owners probably finishing their own daily work and preparing for evening meals with their families. Nothing about the mountain's appearance suggests that its internal structure is rapidly destabilizing, that magma chambers are expanding beyond their capacity, that the final hours of this peaceful scene are ticking away with geological inevitability. Your breathing settles into the relaxed rhythm of a man who has enjoyed the finest pleasures his civilization can offer and now looks forward to an evening of social refinement. The bathhouse has prepared you perfectly for the dinner party that awaits, where you'll join other successful Pompeians in celebrating the prosperity and culture that make their city one of the Roman Empire's most desirable places to live. Walking through streets that feel as familiar and permanent as the Mediterranean coastline itself, you anticipate an evening of intelligent conversation, excellent food, and the kind of sophisticated entertainment that represents Roman civilization at its peak. Tomorrow, you expect, will bring more of the same, another day in paradise, another opportunity to enjoy the fruits of Pompeii's commercial success. Everything feels exactly as it should in the most successful and civilized city in this part of the Roman Empire, completely unaware that it has approximately 12 hours remaining before becoming archaeology. Evening elegance. As the sun begins its descent toward the Bay of Naples, painting Pompeii's whitewashed walls with warm golden light, you prepare for the social event that will mark the culmination of this perfect day, a dinner party at the villa of your friend Gaius Plinius Caecilius Secundus, better known to history as Pliny the Younger. The invitation represents both personal friendship and social recognition. Pliny, though visiting Pompeii on legal business, comes from one of Rome's most distinguished families. His uncle, Pliny the Elder, commands the Roman fleet at nearby Misenum and is famous throughout the empire as a natural philosopher and author. To be included in such company speaks well of your own social standing in Pompeii's merchant aristocracy. You dress carefully for the occasion, selecting your finest toga, one made of silk so fine it seems to shimmer in the lamplight. The fabric was imported from the distant Orient at considerable expense, but such luxuries are appropriate for a man of your position and wealth. Your wife, Claudia, chooses a stola of deep blue silk with gold thread embroidery that complements her still beautiful figure and intelligent eyes. The walk to Pliny's temporary residence takes you through Pompeii's most elegant residential district, where successful merchants and retired officials have built homes that rival anything in Rome itself. The streets are wider here, paved with blocks of volcanic stone from Mount Vesuvius itself, a detail that would be ironic if anyone realized what tomorrow would bring. Evening light transforms the familiar cityscape into something magical. Shadows lengthen between buildings, creating patterns of light and dark that emphasize the architectural sophistication of Roman urban planning. Oil lamps begin to flicker in windows as households prepare for the night, their warm light creating an atmosphere of domestic peace and prosperity. Your breathing naturally slows to match the leisurely pace of evening strolling. In and out, deep and controlled, as your body settles into the relaxed rhythm appropriate for social pleasures rather than business activities. The warm air carries sense of cooking food, blooming flowers from courtyard gardens, and the subtle perfumes that well-dressed Romans wear to evening entertainments. Pliny's rented villa, when you reach it, proves worthy of his family's reputation. The atrium is decorated with frescoes depicting scenes from Homer's Odyssey, their colors brilliant in the light of dozens of oil lamps arranged throughout the space. The impluvium reflects the lamplight like a mirror, creating dancing patterns on the painted walls that bring the mythological scenes to life. Your host greets you with genuine warmth, embracing you in the Roman fashion and welcoming Claudia with the courteous attention due to a respected matron. Pliny is a man of perhaps 30 years, with the refined features and cultured bearing that mark him as a member of Rome's intellectual elite. His education and natural intelligence are evident in every word, but he wears his superiority lightly, making everyone feel included in the conversation. The other guests represent Pompeii's social and commercial elite. There's Marcus Halconius Rufus, a prominent city official whose family has provided several mayors and magistrates. Cecilia Metella attends with her husband, their wealth from gladiatorial enterprises evident in the quality of their clothing and jewelry. Several retired military officers round out the company, men who served with distinction on the empire's frontiers and now enjoy comfortable pensions in Pompeii's pleasant climate. The dinner itself follows the elaborate customs that distinguish Roman civilization from barbarian simplicity. Slaves wash guests' hands with perfumed water before each course, the food is artfully presented on silver serving dishes, and conversation flows with the easy sophistication of educated people enjoying each other's company. The menu showcases both local specialties and exotic imports that demonstrate Pompeii's commercial connections throughout the Mediterranean. Fresh fish from the Bay of Naples, prepared with herbs from local gardens. Dormice stuffed with nuts and honey, a delicacy that requires considerable skill to prepare properly. Wine from the slopes of Mount Vesuvius itself, its rich flavor enhanced by the volcanic soil that makes the region famous for viticulture. As you recline on the dining couches according to Roman custom, you feel the deep satisfaction that comes from sharing excellent food with intelligent companions in beautiful surroundings. The conversation ranges across topics that interest educated Romans: politics in the capital, philosophical questions about the nature of virtue, speculation about trade opportunities in the eastern provinces. Pliny proves to be a charming host, guiding conversation with subtle skill while ensuring that everyone feels included and valued. His stories of life in Rome provide entertainment, while his questions about local conditions show genuine interest in Pompeii's commercial and social development. You find yourself impressed by his combination of natural intelligence and acquired learning. The evening's entertainment includes a reading from Virgil's Aeneid, performed by a slave trained in dramatic recitation. The familiar verses take on new beauty in this intimate setting, their celebration of Roman values and achievements resonating with guests who see themselves as inheritors of the civilization Virgil immortalized. The slave's voice rises and falls with professional skill, bringing the ancient story to life in the lamplight. As the entertainment continues, your breathing settles into the deep, relaxed rhythm of complete contentment. This is Roman civilization at its finest: cultured conversation, excellent food, sophisticated entertainment, all enjoyed in the company of people whose success and refinement make them worthy companions. Every detail speaks of prosperity, security, and the confident expectation of continued good fortune. Through the villa's windows, you can occasionally glimpse Mount Vesuvius silhouetted against the star-filled sky. The mountain looks peaceful and familiar, its slopes dotted with the scattered lights of farms and villages where other Romans are probably enjoying their own evening meals and domestic pleasures. Nothing suggests that beneath that serene exterior, geological forces are building toward a catastrophic release of energy. The conversation turns to future plans as the evening progresses. Pliny mentions his intention to return to Rome within the month, once his legal business in Pompeii is concluded. Marcus Halconius discusses his Families plans to expand their shipping operations, taking advantage of new trade opportunities in Egypt. You share your own thoughts about potential investments in agricultural land, perhaps purchasing a vineyard on Vesuvius's fertile slopes. All these plans assume a future that will never arrive, made by people who have no idea they're living through their final evening. The tragedy isn't in the planning itself but in the complete normalcy of it. Intelligent people making reasonable decisions based on the assumption that tomorrow will be much like today. As the evening draws toward its natural conclusion, you feel the pleasant fatigue that comes from perfect social satisfaction. The food has been excellent, the company stimulating, the entertainment sophisticated. This is the kind of evening that makes life in the Roman Empire so rewarding for those fortunate enough to enjoy its benefits. Preparing to take your leave, you exchange final pleasantries with Pliny and the other guests, making tentative arrangements for future social gatherings that will never take place. The courtesies of departure follow ancient patterns, thanks to the host, compliments on the meal, expressions of mutual regard and hopes for continued friendship. The walk home through Pompeii's quiet streets feels like a gentle conclusion to a perfect day. Your breathing matches the leisurely pace of evening strolling, deep and controlled as your body settles into complete relaxation. The city around you appears peaceful and secure, its citizens safely settled in their homes, its future seemingly as bright and promising as its prosperous present. Everything feels exactly as it should in one of the Roman Empire's most successful provincial cities, completely unaware that dawn will bring not another day of commerce and civilization but the most famous natural disaster in recorded history. The final night. Returning home through Pompeii's peaceful streets, you and Claudia walk in comfortable silence, each lost in thoughts about the delightful evening you've just shared. The night air is warm and still, carrying the familiar sense of your beloved city, olive oil from cooking, flowers from courtyard gardens, and that faint sulfurous odor you've noticed more frequently lately but continue to dismiss as nothing significant. Your house welcomes you with its familiar comforts as the slaves light oil lamps throughout the atrium and sleeping chambers. The soft light creates dancing shadows on the frescoed walls, bringing the painted figures to life in ways that never cease to please you. After 43 years in this house, every detail feels like an extension of your own body, comfortable, predictable, perfectly suited to your needs and preferences. As you prepare for sleep, you engage in the small domestic rituals that have structured your evenings for decades. Claudia reviews the next day's household management with Maria, planning meals and discussing needed purchases. You check briefly with Gaius about tomorrow's banking schedule, confirming appointments and reviewing accounts that require attention. These routine conversations assume a tomorrow that will never arrive as expected, made by people who have no concept of the geological forces building to catastrophic release just 8 miles away. The tragedy lies in their complete normalcy, a successful merchant and his wife making reasonable plans based on 20 years of consistent prosperity and stability. Your breathing settles into the slow, deep rhythm of approaching sleep as you change from your formal evening clothes into a simple sleeping tunic. The silk toga that marked your social status is carefully folded and stored, the jeweled belt that displayed your wealth is returned to its box, and you become simply a man preparing for rest in the privacy of his own home. The bedroom feels especially comfortable tonight, perhaps because the evening's social pleasures have left you feeling particularly satisfied with your life and circumstances. The bed is large and well appointed, stuffed with the finest materials and covered with linen sheets that represent considerable luxury by provincial standards. Through the window, you can see stars scattered across the clear sky, with Mount Vesuvius a darker silhouette against their distant light. Claudia joins you in the bedroom, having completed her own evening preparations. At 40, she remains beautiful and intelligent, a partner in both domestic and business affairs whose judgment you've learned to trust completely. Your marriage, arranged by families for practical reasons, has grown into genuine affection and mutual respect that makes your home life as satisfying as your commercial success. It was a lovely evening, she says, settling beside you on the bed. Pliny is exactly as cultured and intelligent as his reputation suggests. We're fortunate to have such company available even in a provincial city like ours. Her words reflect the pride you both feel in Pompeii's sophisticated social scene. For a city of only 15,000 people, far from Rome's overwhelming grandeur, Pompeii offers remarkably rich cultural and commercial opportunities. Tonight's dinner party exemplified the benefits of living in a prosperous provincial center, rather than struggling for recognition in the capital's overwhelming competition. Dawn of destruction. You wake naturally as the first light of August 24, 79 AD creeps through your bedroom window, the dawn that will begin the most famous day in volcanic history. For a moment, everything feels exactly as it has for thousands of previous mornings. The comfortable weight of your blankets, Claudia's gentle breathing beside you, the familiar scents and sounds of your household beginning another day. But something is different. The birds that usually greet dawn with their songs are strangely silent. Your horses in the stable seem restless, their whinnying carrying an edge of anxiety you've never heard before. Even the household slaves move with unusual quiet, as if some instinct warns them that this morning is unlike any other. Your breathing is still slow from sleep, but as consciousness fully returns, you notice the air itself feels different, heavier somehow, charged with an energy you can't identify. The slight sulfurous smell you've dismissed for weeks seems stronger today, though still not alarming enough to cause serious concern. Standing at your bedroom window, you look out over Pompeii as it begins what you expect to be another ordinary day. The city appears exactly as it always has, red-tiled roofs catching the morning light, white walls gleaming in the fresh sunshine, early smoke rising from cooking fires as households prepare their morning meals. Nothing visible suggests that this peaceful scene has approximately 6 hours remaining before vanishing forever. Mount Vesuvius dominates the northern horizon as it always has, its slopes green with vineyards and farms, its broad summit apparently unchanged from yesterday or any other day in your memory. You've looked at this mountain every morning for 43 years, and it has never appeared anything other than a benign presence providing rich soil for agriculture and a familiar landmark for navigation. Yet somehow, this morning, the mountain seems different. Not in any way you can precisely define. Its shape remains the same, its color unchanged, its peaceful appearance intact. But there's something in the quality of morning light, or perhaps in your own perception, that makes you study it more carefully than usual. Your breathing deepens as you focus on the mountain, trying to understand what, if anything, has changed. The air moving in through your window carries that slightly stronger sulfurous scent, but Vesuvius has hot springs and sulfur deposits that have always created such odors. Many wealthy Romans actually seek out such areas for their supposed health benefits. Claudia stirs in the bed behind you, beginning her own awakening to what will be the last morning of her life, though she dreams peacefully of future domestic pleasures and social engagements. Your children sleep on in their own chambers, Marcus probably dreaming of banking success, Julia perhaps of her approaching marriage. None of them will live to see the sunset that ends this day. Moving through your morning routine, you dress in your customary clothing and prepare for what you expect to be a normal day of banking activities in the forum. The familiar rituals of washing, dressing, and breakfast planning proceed exactly as they have for decades, providing no hint that these mundane activities are being performed for the final time. But the sense of unease persists, growing stronger rather than fading as the morning progresses. The household slaves seem nervous, dropping things more frequently than usual, starting at sudden sounds, glancing toward the mountain with expressions of vague anxiety. The animals continue their restless behavior, horses stamping in their stalls, dogs whining for no apparent reason, even the chickens clustering together instead of spreading out to forage as they normally do. Nature itself seems to be trying to warn Pompeii's inhabitants of what approaches, but the warnings are too subtle for human interpretation. The Romans have no scientific understanding of volcanic processes, no historical memory of Vesuvius as anything other than a peaceful mountain, no conceptual framework for recognizing the signs of impending eruption. Your breakfast proceeds normally despite the underlying sense of unease. The bread tastes as good as ever, the wine maintains its familiar flavor, the conversation with Claudia covers the same domestic topics that have occupied your mornings for 20 years. Yet underneath the normalcy, tension builds like pressure in a sealed container, ready to explode into chaos. As you prepare to leave for the forum, you pause once more at the window to study Mount Vesuvius. The morning light now illuminates its slopes clearly, revealing vineyards and farms where people are probably completing their own morning routines, equally unaware of what approaches. The mountain's appearance remains deceptively peaceful, showing no external signs of the geological catastrophe building in its internal chambers. Your breathing settles into the rhythm appropriate for walking to work, but the unease persists as you step onto Pompeii's familiar streets. Other citizens seem to share your vague anxiety. Conversations are quieter than usual, people move with less purposeful energy, and there's a sense of collective apprehension that no one can quite articulate or explain. The forum, when you reach it, buzzes with subdued activity rather than its usual energetic commerce. Merchants arrange their goods with less enthusiasm, customers browse with distracted attention, and even the normally boisterous legal proceedings in the basilica seem muted. Something is building in the atmosphere, something that human instinct recognizes even when human intelligence cannot identify. As you open your banking stall and arrange your tablets and strongbox, you notice that some of your regular clients haven't appeared for their scheduled appointments. Others arrive but seem hurried, completing their transactions quickly and departing without the usual social conversation that makes business relationships pleasant. The morning progresses with increasing unease, though business continues much as usual. Money changes hands, contracts are negotiated, accounts are balanced, all the routine activities of Pompeii's commercial life proceed normally while something extraordinary builds beyond human perception or understanding. Your breathing maintains its steady rhythm as you work, but you find yourself glancing frequently toward Mount Vesuvius, visible above the forum's surrounding buildings. The mountain continues to look exactly as it always has, yet the sense that something fundamental is about to change grows stronger with each passing hour. At approximately 10 o'clock in the morning, that change begins. It starts as a tremor so slight you might have imagined it, a barely perceptible shaking that makes the coins in your strongbox rattle faintly. Then another tremor, slightly stronger, causing people in the forum to pause in their activities and look around with puzzled expressions. Then, with a sound like thunder that goes on and on without stopping, Mount Vesuvius explodes. The mountain that has watched peacefully over this region for centuries suddenly erupts with a violence that defies comprehension. A column of ash and rock shoots straight up from its summit, rising higher and higher until it disappears into the sky, spreading outward like a gigantic tree whose trunk is destruction and whose branches are death. The sound is beyond anything in human experience, not just loud but felt in the bones, in the chest, in the very foundation of the earth beneath Pompeii's streets. People throughout the forum freeze in terror, their minds struggling to process something so far outside normal experience that it might as well be supernatural. Your breathing stops entirely for a moment as you stare at the impossible sight of your familiar mountain, transformed into a tower of fire and ash. Then training takes over, and you begin the deep, controlled breathing that will help you think clearly in the face of unprecedented crisis. This is the moment when Pompeii's final day truly begins, not with ordinary dawn but with the explosion that will end a civilization and create one of history's most famous archaeological sites. Everything that follows will be shaped by this moment when the peaceful mountain revealed its true nature as one of the most dangerous volcanoes on Earth. Your last normal morning in Pompeii has ended. The morning of historical catastrophe has begun, and survival now depends on decisions made in circumstances no one in this thriving Roman city has ever imagined facing. The countdown to burial has begun, and time is running out faster than anyone realizes. The mountain's fury. The eruption column rises with terrifying speed, growing from a minor disturbance to a towering pillar of destruction that seems to reach toward the very heavens themselves. Within minutes, it climbs higher than any mountain, higher than clouds, until it begins to spread outward like a gigantic umbrella of ash and debris that darkens the entire northern sky. The sound continues without pause, not thunder that rolls and fades but a constant roar that seems to come from the earth itself, so deep and powerful that you feel it in your bones rather than simply hearing it with your ears. People throughout the forum stand paralyzed, their minds struggling to comprehend something so far beyond normal experience that it challenges the very foundations of their understanding of how the world works. Your breathing has returned to a controlled rhythm, though your heart pounds with the natural fear that Any rational person would feel when confronted with such overwhelming force. The banker's training in staying calm during crises serves you well now, allowing you to think clearly while others panic around you. The first ash begins to fall about 30 minutes after the initial explosion, not the heavy chunks of rock. That will come later, but fine gray particles that drift down like snow. At first, it seems almost gentle, these soft flakes that settle on clothing and skin without apparent harm. Some people even catch them in their hands, examining curiously what they assume must be some strange weather phenomenon. But the ash fall increases rapidly, and soon the air itself becomes difficult to breathe. The fine particles irritate eyes and throats, causing coughing and tearing that makes normal activities increasingly difficult. People begin covering their faces with cloth, trying to filter the contaminated air that grows thicker with each passing minute. In the forum, panic begins to spread as the reality of the situation becomes undeniable. This isn't a temporary weather event or a minor earth tremor, this is something catastrophic, something that threatens the existence of the entire city. Some people flee toward the harbor, hoping to escape by sea. Others run toward their homes, desperate to collect family members and precious possessions before what? No one has any framework for understanding what might happen next. You face the same impossible choice that confronts every citizen of Pompeii: flee immediately with nothing but the clothes on your back, or return home to gather family and possessions at the risk of being trapped by whatever this unprecedented disaster might bring. The decision must be made quickly. As the ash fall grows heavier and the air becomes increasingly difficult to breathe, your mind races through the possibilities. Claudia and the children are at home, probably terrified and confused by the sounds and the growing darkness as ash blocks out the sun. Your life savings in gold and silver are hidden in various locations throughout the house. Important documents, family heirlooms, the accumulated treasures of a prosperous life, all of it waits in a home that might become a trap if conditions worsen. The eruption column continues to grow, now clearly visible as a towering pillar of destruction that dominates the entire northern horizon. Its top has spread into a massive cloud that blocks out increasing amounts of sunlight, creating an artificial twilight even though it's still mid-morning. Lightning flickers within the cloud, not ordinary lightning but something more sinister, created by the friction of billions of ash particles rubbing against each other. Your breathing deepens as you make the decision that will determine whether you live or die. You must return home. Leaving family members to face this disaster alone is unthinkable, and a lifetime of careful savings cannot simply be abandoned without an attempt at salvage. The risk is enormous, but the alternative, fleeing alone while your family faces unknown dangers, is morally impossible. The journey home through Pompeii's ash-covered streets reveals a city transforming from prosperous Roman civilization into something from a nightmare. The fine ash continues to fall steadily, accumulating on rooftops and streets, making walking treacherous and breathing increasingly difficult. People stumble through the growing gloom, many carrying bundles of hastily gathered possessions, others supporting elderly family members or carrying children. Your familiar streets look alien under their coating of gray ash. Landmarks become difficult to recognize, and the growing darkness makes navigation challenging. The sulfurous smell grows stronger, mixing with the dust to create an atmosphere that seems almost poisonous. Each breath requires conscious effort as you filter the contaminated air through cloth held over your nose and mouth. At your house, you find chaos. Claudia has gathered the children in the atrium, where they huddle together in terror as ash falls through the compluvium, the opening that normally brings welcome light and air but now admits the volcanic debris that threatens to bury them all. The household slaves look to you for leadership, their faces showing the trust that makes their dependence both touching and terrifying. What's happening? Claudia asks, her voice tight with controlled fear. Is it the end of the world? The question isn't entirely unreasonable. From a Roman perspective, with no scientific understanding of volcanic processes, the eruption of Vesuvius might well seem like divine punishment or the literal end of creation. The mountain that has been a benign presence for centuries has suddenly revealed itself as a source of destruction beyond any human ability to control or understand. You gather your family in the atrium while making rapid decisions about what can be saved and what must be abandoned. The most important things, the family itself, enough gold to start over somewhere else, a few precious items that represent your identity and heritage, these might be salvageable if you act quickly and decisively. But time is running out faster than anyone realizes. The eruption continues to intensify, and the ash fall that began as gentle flakes now includes larger pieces of pumice, light volcanic rock that accumulates much faster than fine ash. The roof of your house groans under increasing weight, and you realize that the building itself may become a death trap if the volcanic debris continues to accumulate. Your breathing stays controlled despite the growing crisis, the rhythm of inhalation and exhalation, providing an anchor of calm in circumstances that threaten to overwhelm rational thought. Each breath brings the acrid taste of volcanic ash, but also the oxygen needed for clear thinking in the most important decisions of your life. The mountain's fury shows no signs of diminishing. If anything, the eruption seems to be growing stronger, the column rising higher, the ash fall becoming heavier. Pompeii faces a disaster unprecedented in Roman experience, and survival will require choices that no one in this prosperous city ever imagined having to make. The final hours of Pompeii have begun, and every decision from this moment forward will determine who lives and who dies in history's most famous volcanic catastrophe. The escape decision. The ash continues to fall with increasing intensity, transforming your beautiful home into a gray-coated chamber where breathing becomes more difficult with each passing minute. The weight of volcanic debris on the roof creates ominous creaking sounds that suggest structural failure might be imminent. You realize with crystal clarity that staying in the house means certain death, but leaving means abandoning everything you've spent a lifetime building. Claudia looks to you for leadership, her intelligent eyes showing trust even in this unprecedented crisis. Marcus and Julia huddle close to their mother, their young faces showing the kind of terror that comes from seeing adults struggle with forces beyond comprehension. The household slaves wait for orders, their dependence on your decision-making now literally a matter of life and death. We have to leave, you tell them, your voice steady despite the circumstances. Take only what you can carry easily. We're going to the harbor, ships may still be able to get us away from the mountain. The decision feels like tearing out part of your soul. This house represents 43 years of life, 20 years of marriage, the accumulated prosperity of a successful career. The frescoed walls, the comfortable furnishings, the hidden caches of gold and silver, all of it must be abandoned for the sake of continued existence. Your breathing deepens as you move quickly through the house, grabbing only the most essential items. A leather bag of gold coins that represents enough wealth to start over, important family documents wrapped in oiled cloth, a few pieces of jewelry that combine monetary and sentimental value. Each item abandoned feels like a small death, but speed is now more important than possessions. Claudia gathers clothing and supplies with the practical efficiency that has made her such an excellent partner in managing both household and business affairs. She understands instinctively that their former life has ended, that survival now depends on rapid adaptation to circumstances none of them have ever imagined facing. The children struggle with the concept of abandoning their home, the only secure base they've ever known. Marcus, at 18, tries to act like the man he's becoming, but his eyes show the same fear and confusion that grip everyone in Pompeii. Julia clings to a small wooden doll, one of the few childhood treasures she'll be able to carry into an uncertain future. Outside, the situation continues to deteriorate. The ash fall now includes chunks of pumice large enough to cause serious injury, and the accumulation on streets and rooftops grows visibly deeper. The artificial darkness created by the volcanic cloud makes midday feel like evening, and the air becomes increasingly difficult to breathe despite efforts to filter it through cloth. Your small group joins the streams of refugees moving through Pompeii's ash-covered streets toward the harbor. Families carry bundles of hastily gathered possessions, elderly citizens struggle to keep pace with younger relatives, and children cry in confusion and fear. The organized prosperity of Roman civilization has dissolved into the basic human struggle for survival. The harbor, when you finally reach it, presents a scene of chaos and desperation. Ships that were loading cargo this morning now take on human passengers at premium prices, or refuse passengers entirely as captains make their own calculations about weather conditions and navigational hazards. The volcanic cloud has created winds and atmospheric disturbances that make sailing dangerous even for experienced mariners. Your banking connections prove valuable even in crisis. Captain Marcus Flavius, whose shipping ventures you've financed for several years, recognizes you despite the ash-covered clothing and offers passage aboard his grain transport. The price is extraordinary, essentially everything of value you've managed to carry, but the alternative is remaining in Pompeii as the volcanic debris continues to accumulate. As your family boards the ship, you take one final look back at the city that has been your entire world. Pompeii lies gray and ghostly under its coating of ash, its familiar landmarks obscured by the continuing fall of volcanic debris. Mount Vesuvius dominates the horizon like an angry god, its eruption column reaching impossible heights while lightning flickers within the dark cloud. Your breathing stays controlled despite the emotional weight of permanent departure. Each inhalation brings the acrid taste of volcanic ash, but also the oxygen needed to support your family through this unprecedented crisis. The rhythm of breathing provides psychological anchoring when everything else familiar has been stripped away. The ship begins to move just as the volcanic situation takes a deadly turn for the worse. What happens next will be remembered as the pyroclastic flows, superheated currents of gas, ash, and debris that race down Vesuvius's slopes at hundreds of miles per hour, incinerating everything in their path. From the ship's deck, you watch in horror as these glowing avalanches of destruction sweep over the landscape where you lived and worked for decades. In minutes, they reach Pompeii itself, burying the city under additional layers of volcanic material that will preserve it almost perfectly for nearly 2,000 years. Those who stayed behind, either by choice or because they couldn't reach escape routes in time, die instantly as the superheated flows engulf their homes and hiding places. The city's population of 15,000 is reduced to perhaps a few thousand survivors who managed to flee early enough and far enough to escape the mountain's ultimate fury. Your family huddles together on the ship's deck, watching their entire world disappear under volcanic destruction. The house where your children were born, the forum where you conducted business, the temples where you worshipped, the baths where you socialized, all of it vanishes beneath the gray blanket of ash and debris that will preserve Pompeii as history's most famous archaeological site. As the ship carries you away from the disaster, your breathing gradually returns to normal rhythms, though the taste of volcanic ash will linger for days. You've survived, your family has survived, but everything else has been lost. Ahead lies the challenge of rebuilding life from nothing, starting over in middle age with only the skills and experience that exist in your mind and the small amount of wealth you managed to carry away. Behind you, Pompeii settles into its long sleep under the volcanic debris, beginning the preservation process that will make it immortal. The thriving Roman city you knew has ended, but its archaeological legacy has begun, a perfectly preserved snapshot of daily life in the Roman Empire, waiting nearly 2 millennia for rediscovery. Your last day in Pompeii has ended not with death but with survival and transformation. The comfortable banker's life has been replaced by the refugee's uncertain future, but life itself continues, carrying forward the memories and experiences of one of history's most famous disasters. Sunset of memory. As Captain Flavius's ship carries your family across the Bay of Naples away from the continuing eruption, you stand at the stern rail watching Mount Vesuvius complete its transformation from familiar landmark to destroyer of worlds. The volcano continues to erupt with undiminished fury, its column of ash and debris now reaching so high that its top disappears into the darkened sky. The sun, still hours from its normal setting time, appears as only a dim orange disk filtered through the massive cloud of volcanic material. The light that reaches the earth carries an otherworldly quality, painting everything in shades of gray and amber that make the familiar landscape look like something from the underworld itself. Your breathing has settled into a deeper, more contemplative rhythm as the immediate crisis of escape gives way to the longer-term reality of permanent displacement. Each inhalation brings air that still carries Traces of volcanic ash, a reminder that will persist for days of the morning when everything changed. Forever. Claudia stands beside you, her hand in yours, both of you watching the death of the only world you've ever known as adults. Your children press close, seeking comfort in family unity when all other sources of security have vanished. The household slaves who chose to follow your family into exile huddle nearby, their loyalty touching in circumstances where legal obligations have become meaningless. Other refugees crowd the ship's deck, each family representing another story of loss and survival. Some weep openly for what they've left behind, others stare in stunned silence at the continuing eruption, and a few attempt to comfort children who don't understand why their familiar world has suddenly become so frightening. The ship's captain provides updates as his knowledge allows, though no one has any framework for understanding the full magnitude of what's occurring. Other cities along the coast, Herculaneum, Stabii, Atlantis, have also been affected, some buried even more completely than Pompeii by different types of volcanic flows. The disaster extends far beyond your single city, affecting the entire region that has prospered under Vesuvius's seemingly benign presence. As evening approaches, real evening, not just the artificial darkness created by volcanic clouds, you begin to process the full scope of what you've experienced and lost. The banking business built over decades, gone. The house where your children were born, buried. The social connections that defined your place in Pompeii's commercial community, scattered or dead. Yet alongside the losses, you recognize what has been preserved, your family's life, your own skills and knowledge, the relationships built through 20 years of marriage and 18 years of raising children. The foundation of identity runs deeper than possessions or location, and what matters most has survived the mountain's fury. Your breathing deepens as you allow yourself to fully feel both the grief of loss and the gratitude of survival. The rhythm of inhalation and exhalation becomes almost meditative, helping to process emotions too complex for simple expression. Each breath carries away some small portion of the day's accumulated trauma while bringing in the oxygen needed for continued life and eventual healing. The ship reaches Neapolis, modern Naples, as true darkness finally falls over the devastated region. The city's harbor buzzes with activity as other refugee ships arrive and officials attempt to organize relief efforts for the thousands of displaced people fleeing Vesuvius's eruption. Your family joins the crowds of survivors seeking temporary shelter and trying to establish contact with relatives in other cities. In the days that follow, as the full extent of the disaster becomes clear, you'll learn that you were among the fortunate few who recognized the danger early enough to escape. Most of Pompeii's population died in their homes or in the streets, overcome by volcanic gases or buried under the accumulating debris. Your decision to flee immediately rather than waiting to see what would happen made the difference between life and death. Pliny the Younger, your dinner companion from just last night, will survive to write detailed letters describing the eruption, letters that will become the primary historical source for understanding what happened during those terrible hours. His account will preserve for history the experience of watching a mountain explode and a civilization disappear. Your own survival story will be less famous but no less remarkable. Starting over at age 43, you'll use your banking skills and surviving capital to establish a new business in Rome itself. The family will adapt to their changed circumstances, and within a few years, you'll achieve a different kind of prosperity, perhaps less spectacular than what you enjoyed in Pompeii, but built on the foundation of having survived one of history's most famous disasters. But tonight, on this refugee ship sailing away from your buried home, such future success seems almost impossible to imagine. Tonight, there is only the reality of loss, the gratitude for survival, and the overwhelming task of rebuilding life from almost nothing. As you prepare for sleep in the ship's crowded passenger area, your breathing naturally slows to the rhythm of rest and recovery. Your body, pushed beyond normal limits by the day's extraordinary demands, seeks the restoration that will prepare you for tomorrow's challenges. The familiar comfort of your own bed is gone, replaced by rough ship's bedding, but exhaustion makes any resting place welcome. Claudia settles beside you, her presence providing the anchor of continuity in a world where everything else has changed. Your children arrange themselves nearby, seeking the security of family closeness when all other sources of stability have vanished. The simple fact of being together, alive and relatively safe, creates its own form of wealth that no volcanic eruption can destroy. Your last thoughts before sleep overtakes you are of Pompeii as it was this morning, a thriving Roman city confident in its prosperity and secure in its future. That city exists now only in memory and under 20 feet of volcanic ash, perfectly preserved for archaeologists who won't begin serious excavation for another 17 centuries. You've lived through one of history's most famous disasters and survived to remember it. The comfortable life of a prosperous provincial banker has ended, but the larger story of human resilience and adaptation has begun. Sleep comes finally, bringing dreams that mix memory with hope, past comfort with future possibility. Your breathing becomes deep and regular as consciousness fades, carrying you toward the restoration that survivors need before facing the long work of rebuilding everything that volcanic fury has destroyed. The mountain's work is done, Pompeii sleeps under its blanket of ash, and you sleep with the knowledge that life continues even after the end of worlds. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but tonight there is only rest, only the gentle rhythm of breathing, only the peaceful surrender to sleep's ancient promise of renewal for those who have faced the ultimate test of survival and found the strength to endure. The last day of Pompeii has ended, but your story continues, carrying forward the memory of a perfect Roman city that became history's most famous victim of natural disaster, preserved forever as a testament to both human achievement and nature's overwhelming power. Sleep now, survivor of Vesuvius, dreaming of the lost city that will inspire wonder and learning for thousands of years to come, while you begin the quiet work of building a new life from the ashes of the old.